Hello, welcome to the November 2020 Stanion and Northants Astronomy Club Skyguide. I hope you're all staying safe and you're all well and healthy and enjoying the night skies when you can, when it's clear. So this guide, if anyone else is watching who's not from the Stanion Club, is for the UK skies during the month of November. So I'm going to crack on, and as usual I'll start off going through where we can see the planets throughout November, and I'm going to start with Mercury. So Mercury, I don't think it was visible last month, but this month its separation from the Sun is enough so that we can see it, and we're going to be able to see it in the morning, in the early hours before sunrise. It's shining at mag plus 1.5 at the beginning of the month, and then by the end of the month it is going to brighten up to mag minus 0.4. I'm sorry, that's by the 10th of November, and I think after that it starts getting closer to the Sun again, and I think the magnitude will go down, but you still might be able to see it low to the southeast horizon before sunrise. And I put this slide on here. This screenshot here shows Mercury highlighted with the little red indicators there, low to the horizon. This is on the 13th of November, so you'll have Mercury there, and then above and to the right a little bit you'll have the Moon, which will be a very thin 5.6% waning crescent, and then above that it'll be joined by Venus. And also this star down here is Spica in the constellation Virgo, so this will make a very nice grouping on the morning of the 13th of November. It might be a nice photo opportunity, or just get binoculars out and have a little scan around these nice bright objects in the same area of the sky, which is the screenshot here on the right hand side of your screen. Venus, the Moon, you can see the Moon there, you might get a bit of Earth shine visible on there if you're lucky, and Spica and Mercury. And then up to the left as well, another bright object, the star Arcturus in the constellation of Bootes on that morning of the 13th of November. So move on now to Venus. Of course, shining very brightly still right now, mag minus 3.9, completely unmissable if you're up in before sunrise. Again, this is in the east southeast. This screenshot here shows you where it will be on the morning of the 19th of November. This is 6 AM, so it's still dark at that time of the morning at the minute, and I've chosen this one because I think each morning Venus is getting lower in the constellation of Virgo. It makes its way south through the constellation, and this morning it will be just about level with the star Spica, the brightest star in Virgo. So that will make a nice morning greeting. And then you also have Mercury just popping its head over the horizon there at 6 o'clock, so if you've got a low enough view, then you can also see Mercury again that morning of the 19th of November. So move on to Mars. Mag minus 2.1 at the start of the month, and it dims to minus 1.1 by month end. Mars, it was in opposition in October, but it's still a fine sight in the evenings. You can still get some good views, and it should be visible as darkness falls. In the evening in the east, you can see Mars's red hue shining away to greet you as you go out and set up your telescopes, or just go out with binoculars. It also, as it's past opposition as well, we're moving further away from Mars now. The Earth is moving further away, so its diameter is also going to fall from 20 arc seconds to 15 arc seconds by the end of the month. So you've still got some fine views to be had of this planet before November's finished. So now it's time to get your scopes out and enjoy the end of this current apparition. Moving on now to Jupiter. So it's still visible alongside Saturn in the south-southwest. As it gets dark, it's mag minus 2.0, so it's still a nice bright object. And throughout the month of November, Saturn and Jupiter will actually start to converge. They're going to get closer together as the month goes on. And this screenshot here on the left, I've highlighted on the night of the 19th of November again. This is at 6 in the evening, so it's nice and dark by then. And I've highlighted this one because you've got a nice little grouping here. You've got Jupiter, Saturn, and then they're joined in by a waxing crescent moon. I can't remember how thick that is, but it's a bit more than 5% like the other one I told you. But yeah, it'll be a fine sight. You know, the moon just about makes a right angle triangle with the two planets. And this screenshot here, lower right, I have highlighted because on the evening of the 11th, this is at 6 o'clock, so you have to remember when you first see these planets in the evening, they're only going to get lower. They're already setting by the time you can see them, so you need to get on them pretty quickly, especially if you want to see this event coming to an end. If you've got a good enough resolution on your telescope, you might be able to make out the shadow of the Galilean moon Io cast onto the planet, and at the same time as well, the great red spot will be nicely presented front and centre on the planet's disk. So a nice fine sight to be had there of Jupiter, if you've got the seeing conditions of course, and a clear enough horizon to get a good resolution on the planet. Yeah, it's always a challenge at the minute. It's not as high as it was a few years ago, and I think it's going to be a few more years yet until it starts gaining altitude again. You know, we do the best with what we can with the conditions and the stuff we've got here in the UK. So hopefully we can get some more good views of Jupiter before November's out. And we'll now move on to Saturn. I've already mentioned Saturn. It's on the evening of the 19th again. I've put here. Already mentioned it's going to form a nice little right angle triangle with Jupiter, and it's visible just to the left of Jupiter after sunset. When it gets dark, you'll see it. It's mag plus 0.9, not as bright as Jupiter. It's quite a bit dimmer. You'll notice that when you observe it just with your naked eye. Yeah, and it will just converge on Jupiter as November, as we progress through the month. So that is Saturn, and obviously if you've got your telescope, you'll still be able to make out the lovely rings of Saturn. And if you're lucky, you'll be able to make out the Cassini division there. The dark space between the two main rings of Saturn. Always a lovely sight through a telescope. So move on now to Uranus. I've just set out a bunch of screenshots here showing you the wider field of view here. Shows you about 11 o'clock. This is on the 9th of November. It'll be due south, so that's its highest point in the sky. 11 o'clock on the 9th. And as always, it's best to try and make yourself a little star chart, maybe using Stellarium, just to try and make out the star shapes, asterisms, and that give you a little indicators just so you can star hop your way there. And I think Uranus is in a little bit of an area where there's not many bright stars to signpost your way there really at the minute, so I usually try and memorise or draw these asterisms or print out a little star chart your own, just to make sure you've got your telescope trained on the right spot. And of course you should be able to make out the sort of the very the greenish tinge of the planet when you've got your telescope trained on it. It's mag plus 5.7 as usual, and just on the cusp of naked eye visibility, but most people live in a town, so we're not going to really see it with the naked eye. You're going to need an instrument, at least binoculars, to make it out. And same applies for Neptune really. It's just over the naked eye visibility range, but you'll need an instrument to make this planet out. And it's due south around about 8 o'clock in the evening. This is about mid-month, and yeah, I've done the same here again, so it's in the constellation of Aquarius. Just make yourself a star chart really. you know, give yourself a little signpost so you can star hop your way there. Or if you've got a go-to scope, even better. You just click a few buttons and you're there. You know, and the you will be able to make out the blue colour of the planet's disk as well when you've got your scope trained on it. So moving on now, there's a little bit of a moon event happening. The moon is interacting, or it's passing in front of the southern part of M35, which is a constellation just off the foot of Gemini. So this will be visible in the early hours of the 5th of November. So this screenshot shows you 2 AM in the morning. All the timings are in universal time, of course. And this boxed section just here above the moon, my stellarium isn't showing me the actual cluster. It's showing you where it is, but it's not showing you all the stars that occupy it. But it is a lovely open cluster. It looks great in the eyepiece, so you can pair binoculars just off one of the feet of Gemini. And as the evening progresses, this moon will pass in front of some of the stars that make up the cluster. So even though the moon will be bright, so you might not be able to see them being covered up by the brighter limb, but you can see here the dark limb of the moon is not illuminated, so you will probably see them emerging from the other side towards the end of this transit event. So it's going to happen from 20 past 1 and it will finish around about 3 o'clock in the morning. So binoculars or a telescope should show you some nice views of these stars emerging from the dark limb of the moon, at least, if you can't see them being obscured in the first place. So a nice little event to look out for if you're out at that time in the morning on the 5th of November. And staying on the moon subject, I'm sure you've all heard of this discovery that's been announced recently. It's NASA's Flying Observatory. You know, they've got this really awesome telescope aboard a 747 or whatever plane it is. But they fly really high, you know, get as high up in the atmosphere as they can, and they're able to make observations of things in the night sky with this really sophisticated piece of astronomy equipment that they have there. And the discovery they've made is an observation of the moon, and they have confirmed that there is more water locked up in the moon's minerals than they first thought. They've previously discovered there's permanent ice in some of the permanently shadowed craters of the moon, but these observations are from the Clavius crater, which our friend Graham Algeo just happened to image last month and kindly let us show his picture. So I've highlighted the Clavius crater here, which I believe is known as the Sea of Moons due to the amount of craters it's got running through it there. Yeah, they have discovered that there's more water than they thought locked up in the minerals of the moon. I think previous observations have discovered with other telescopes that there is oxygen, hydrogen present in the regolith of the moon, but they weren't sure if it was H2O or OH. But they've now confirmed that it is H2O locked up. It remains to be seen if we can make use of that and how it's easy it'll be to get to extract from the minerals. But it'll be exciting to see what happens next with this discovery, especially with the Gateway project that they are planning to explore the moon further with. So quite exciting news. So I shall move on now to our next slide, and this is where I am going to highlight a couple of deep sky objects as I normally do. And being November, near fireworks night, it'd be rude not to highlight the fireworks galaxy, which is in the constellation of Cepheus. It's one of my favourite little galaxies to go and have a look at. Try and see, it's near to a cluster as well, which is NGC 6939. And the fireworks galaxy is NGC 6946. If you're wanting to pop that into your go-to telescope to try and get to it a bit quicker. It's in Cepheus. it's just on the border of Cepheus, in this area down here, just to the off the bottom right of the house asterism of that constellation. Stellarium shows the galaxy and the cluster there, and if I've zoomed in a little bit on this bottom screenshot, you can see the galaxy here, and then the cluster is denoted here, the little dotty circle there. And I believe it's called the Fireworks Galaxy because it's supposed to have like 9 supernovas within the last century, which is above average for a galaxy that we observe in the night sky. So yeah, it's quite fitting that I'll highlight this deep sky object this month. And here's an image that I took of the Fireworks Galaxy next to the cluster. So there we go. You can tell it's a spiral galaxy, and you can tell by the amount of stars in the background here that it's nestled. It's in the same field of view as the Milky Way. That's why we've got all these stars here. But you can clearly see the star cluster there, the concentration of stars making up NGC 6939, and just over to the right of my image, you can make out the galaxy as well. So I'll move on now onto Auriga. I love these constellations as well. These clusters within the constellation of Auriga. It's just nice if you're using a manual mount, and just keeps your star hopping eye in, if you like. Or even if you've got a pair of binoculars, it's just nice to scan around. You start up here at Capella and get on the brightest star and just scan your way down, and as you do, you'll come across these clusters within the constellation of Auriga. The best ones are M36, M37 and M38. That's it. So just your telescope or a pair of binoculars, make your way down and just make out these clusters. You'll see them as little fuzzy collections of stars, just behind the background of more spaced out stars. I never actually took a picture of these clusters. It's just one of the things that I enjoy, just using my eyes and my telescope just to have a look at. If you don't fancy imaging on a particular night, it's always nice just to sit back, relax, and have a little visual tour of some deep sky objects. And we were just speaking about Gemini earlier as well, so you can see Auriga here will be rising. This is 9 o'clock in the evening in the east, and then below that you'll see Gemini as well. So if you're getting ready for that moon event as well on the 5th of November, that's where M35 is going to be, just off that right hand foot of Gemini. There's a few meteor showers happening this month. The Northern Taurids, which do actually happen from 20th of October right through to the 10th of December, but they peak on the 12th of November. They don't have a very good hourly rate at their peak though, but if you are out on the night of the 10th of December, then and you do see a meteor, then you might be able to make out if they're a Northern Taurid or not. And same goes for the Leonids. They're peaking this month. The Leonids do have an average low rate again, the 15th, but they have been known to have a nice outburst, and some of the individual meteors that you do see with the Leonids can have quite a nice bright and slow trail to them as well. So the Leonids peak on the 17th, 18th of November. So if you're out and about that night, or if you've got clear skies, it's always worth just going out and see if you can spot a few, and who knows if you're going to have a good year for them or not. You might get a nice explosion of meteors happening, but you never know unless you go out and have a look. And on to the space station now. So it's visible in the morning in the early hours till the 10th of November, and then we don't see it then for 10 days, and when it returns to visible passes from the 20th of November. And as always, use the heavensabove.com website or the ISS detector app on your smartphone device. And speaking of the space station as well, actually today is the 2nd of November, and it marks the 20-year anniversary of the space station being permanently manned. Expedition 1, which carried the NASA astronaut William Shepard and 2 Russian cosmonauts, Sergei Krikalev and Yuri Gidzenko. It blasted off on Halloween on the 31st of October 2000. They blasted off from Baikonur on their Soyuz rocket, and they became the first crew to kick off the permanent manning of the permanent crewing of the International Space Station. So yeah, quite a big year, quite a big celebration happening right now. And here's a picture of the astronauts getting settled in there and getting the ISS ready for the other expeditions that were to follow them. And also I think they carried out some of the first experiments on the ISS as well during their 4-month stay. So exciting to see, and it's really cool just to see this space station come over, to go out and watch it, and there's people been on that space station for the last 20 years and they're going to continue. I'm not sure when it's going to come to an end, but it will one day. It'll be a sad day, but I'm sure they'll have something else put in place by then. So, moving on now, just a few images. This is an image of a star trail. I think I did this one last year while I was looking for some meteors. Always like a star trail image, especially something like this where you can really bring out the saturation of different colours of the stars. You can see some blues, you see some just really bright, just got a slightly orange or red hue to some of the other stars as well. Some of them are white. Obviously, the brighter ones stand out more. But, and also, this was pointing. You can see the top stars curve upwards, and then as you get down towards the this area, the star trails need straight, and then they start curving the other way. It just shows you, the different, the northern and southern part of the skies. And another couple of images here from Graham Algier this month. He does another lovely moon image there. Lots of great details there, especially these mountain ranges here spreading out across the lunar surface, and that bright crater whose name escapes me at this moment in time. It's always visible there as a bright crater when you're looking at the moon. And also he's done another image of Mars. He had several images of Mars, still playing around with his different telescope and camera combinations. This is a really nice one. You can just make out the polar cap there on the bottom there, and this lovely detailed region here as well, showing the darker areas of Mars. And Dave Booth did an image last month as well. There was, I'm sure I mentioned last month's Skyguide that there was going to be Venus was going to be very close to a waning crescent moon, and he's captured the moon with some earthshine as well. So you can see the bright crescent part there, and the other part of the moon you can see there would have been very dark to the naked eye, but if we take a longer exposure with a camera, you'll bring out the rest of the surface detail there quite easily. And then of course over to the right we've got Venus shining nicely in the night sky. Our member Paul Smith as well has been sharing some images of his greenhouse observatory build. So he's used some concrete blocks here to make his make the pier, and he's mounted this lovely heavy mount on top there, and he's lined it with some artificial grass as well, so it's got a nice comfy flooring to stand on while he's observing. And parts of his greenhouse roof come off, so that you've got a clear view of the sky, not looking through the glass of the greenhouse. It's a really nice build, really nice solution. It keeps your kit all nice and dry in there as well when you're not using it. And it's got this nice big Orion telescope mounted on top of it as well. So yeah, really nice observatory solution. And here's an image from Paul Smith as well. I think it's been quite clouded out over the course of the last month as well, but he did manage to get a view of the full moon a few nights ago, just between some thinning sort of cloud, which sometimes makes for a lovely image. The light of the moon brings out colours in the cloud as well. It starts off bright, and then you go into these other hues as you get further away from the moon. It's really nice to see. I'm done no imaging for the past month whatsoever as well, so I'm going to do a throwback to November last year when we had the Mercury transit. So me and a couple of other chaps, went down to the Stanion field and we did some daytime observing using our solar telescopes to have a look at Mercury as it passed in front of the sun. And a few photos here. There's me taking a little selfie there of our setup. That's my little solar telescope. Graham's setting his larger telescope up over there, and it was quite a windy day as well. So I ended up moving into the dugout, which was next to the football field handily. So it stopped my scope getting blown around by the wind. And here you go. Here, this is a solar disk image that I took on that day, and you can just make out here. There's Mercury sitting right there. Let me just go to the next slide. There we go. We've got a bigger version of that image there. So we've got solar disk. Nothing happened on the sun really. No sunspots. I didn't really make out any flares or any prominences that day either. No filaments. So not a lot going on other than this little black dot here, which gradually made its way in this sort of motion across the sun's disk as the day went on. We got to see just about all of it as well. It got a bit cloudy towards the end, and there were some cloudy conditions during the day, but we did get to see a very large portion of the transit of Mercury. And I think, I can't remember when the next one is, but it's a long way away, so we're really pleased to get to see this event happen. And there's a close-up of Mercury as it passes in front of the sun, so you can see a lot of the spiculae of the solar surface here as I imaged in hydrogen alpha wavelength. And this little shadow just made its way across the disk. Really cool thing to see. We had a few people popping down during the day as well, so we announced that anyone's welcome to come down and have a little look. It's quite a rare event, and wouldn't like anyone to miss out if they're interested in seeing it. So that's what happened that day. Actually, if I go back to the other slide, I believe that was supposed to play as a video. If I just press that, there we go. You can just see some of the challenging conditions that we had that day. There we go. The cloud obscuring our views. You can still just see Mercury there. And it's gone. So I'll finish on that. Hope you all have some clear skies. Hope you get some good use out of this Skyguide for the month ahead. As we head into lockdown 2.0, hope everyone's staying safe and healthy. And if we all stick by the rules, we can all get back to normal as quickly as possible. Although can't see it happening anytime soon, so hopefully it doesn't carry on longer than it needs to. But astronomy is still one thing that we can all do from our own back gardens. They can take the pubs, they can take our gyms, but they can't take our skies. So hope you've all enjoyed that and you find it useful, and I'll speak to you all again next month. Thank you. Bye bye.